Hey everyone, I am Nathaniel Rufflejantz, and this is Prime News. So our first story of the day, the lead story, actually deals with THQ Nordic. Believe it or not, they will not be at E3 despite the fact that we know about games like Darksiders 3. And the reasoning? The World Cup. Here's what they said in one of the strangest press releases I think I have ever read. It is with great regret that we at THQ Nordic must report that we will be unable to miss a single moment of this great sporting event. Therefore, we will be forced to stay at our lovely Viennese beer gardens, blowing the froth off a couple, watching football, and one or two cool press conferences on Twitch, looking at you, Devolver, instead of rocking it ourselves. We have to admit, we are going to miss our 9 a.m. pint of beer in the Ye Old King's Pub in Santa Monica, where they show all of the matches live. But with the World Cup being held in Russia, it would mean a 7 a.m. beer. That's too early, even for Australians, let alone the Swedes. We are looking forward to presenting all of our great upcoming games like Darksiders 3, Biomutant, Fade to Silence, or Wreckfest, and even some unannounced titles for the first time at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany, and shortly after at PAX West in Seattle. This is very interesting, at least to me, because E3 is the biggest gaming event in the world. I know Gamescom is up there as well, and other events, PAX East, PAX West, blah, 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 but to skip out on it because of soccer is just strange to me, regardless of how big of a sports fan you are, right? This would be akin to someone saying, hey, look, there's some major golf event or major NBA event or major NFL event, and because of that, we're not going to be there. They do save money, of course. E3 is a very expensive event to attend, more expensive than any other event for, game publishers. So that could be the real reason, and they're not going to say that. But it's a little disappointing because I was hoping that we would see Darksiders 3 get announced and confirmed to be coming to Switch, because we did get Darksiders and Darksiders 2. But it is what it is. We can do at this point is hope that when they finally do show off their games, that Switch is going to be part of the equation. Our next story is really weird because it's not something that comes up very often, but this person bought some NES cartridges at a flea market in Georgia, and when they opened them up, discovered that there was drugs inside. Very, very strange, and it's obviously that drug dealers, they always are looking for ways to smuggle things across borders without getting busted, and putting some drugs in NES carts apparently used to be a thing that they did. There was even someone who a long time ago opened up their NES cart to discover $5,000 in $100 bills from like 40 years ago. So it's one of those things where this isn't unheard of, but it's very, very rare, and this is the first known case I'm aware of where drugs were actually discovered inside of NES carts. So what this person did is Julian Turner bought roller games and golf at a flea market in Georgia. The first thing that was really strange is that roller games itself was the PAL version, which is the European version, which is really strange to see in the U.S. Normally, you're not going to see a PAL version in the U.S. At a flea market. And on top of it, when they weighed the games compared to like the North American counterparts, they weighed about 50% more. And that's like, hey, we got to open it up, see what's inside. They even note, they did a video on it. They even note that, hey, look, like the fact that it weighs heavier, it is known that stuff used to be smuggled with NES carts, but like it's rare to find a discovery today. And then, they opened it up, and inside each cartridge, golf and roller games, were two shrink-wrapped packages is the best way to describe it. They did cut open one of them. They didn't touch the substance inside themselves. They were using a box cutter, and they held it open and took some pictures or whatever. We're not going to show you pictures of the actual substance here because I don't believe we need to go that far with this story. But once they cut it open, they realized, yes, indeed, this is drugs. They had suspicion it was. And they called the cops immediately, turned them in, blah, 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 blah. So, moral of the story is, you know what? You never know what you're going to find when you're buying NES cartridges at flea markets, maybe even a used game store. How this stuff gets lost in the fray through a smuggling ring. It could be as simple as children at home playing the game at NES and then like mixing it up with other cartridges, and it is what it is. Life happens. All I know is that you just never know what you're going to discover. This isn't the first time we've seen drugs inside of systems, or like you buy a game from a store and then inside of the game is drugs or money and not the game. It's kind of sad. That's the world we live in, but it is what it is. You guys let me know what you think about that story down in the comments below. So our third story today. This is actually probably the most interesting story of the day. This broke late last night because of the BAFTA awards last night. BBC got to sit down with Nintendo's Shinya Takahashi, who happens to lead their hardware development side of things at Nintendo. And Nintendo did receive a couple awards, like one for Super Mario Odyssey and one for Breath of the Wild. Although not like Game of the Year awards. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice actually won a ton of BAFTA awards. But it is what it is. Their awards, whether or not they matter, is really up to the eye of the beholder. So what we see here is that there was a question from BBC. And the final question asked of Takahashi was if they thought the success of the Switch has come as a surprise. But here's the weird thing. It's almost like he ignored the question and decided he wanted to talk about something else entirely. Because this is his translated response according to BBC. Nintendo constantly works on hardware. So we have been doing research and development. You may see the new system sometime in the future. They weren't asking about a new system. They were asking about, was he surprised by the success of Switch? And instead, he announced that they're working on a new system. What? No, I'm not surprised that they're working on a new system. Like, it would be surprising if they weren't, whether it's a successor to Switch, whether it's a Switch Pro, whether it's a successor to 3DS, or whatever the case may be. None of it is actually surprising, but it's still just one of those things where you have to wonder, you know what? What is happening? Why would he say this? They didn't ask about what's coming next. And Takahashi's like, yeah, that he must. The only thing I can think of is either something was lost in the translation of the question to him, translating their question to him, or lost in translation back, or if none of that happened, then he just really, really, really wanted to, he must be really excited about whatever the heck they're working on because he really wanted to talk about it, so much so that he gave it as an answer to an unrelated question. So yeah, Nintendo's working on new hardware. Maybe it's a Switch successor. Maybe it's a 3DS successor. Maybe it's something entirely different. We have no idea. But it's a thing they're doing. Just like they were working on Switch within the first year of Wii U being out. Like, this isn't unusual, but it's unusual to hear about it right now, right? Usually you don't hear about, it's been in development since the beginning of X system. Well, until they announce the system. So, strange world we live in today. We have two other stories I just want to get to quick before we wrap things up. The first one is that Football Manager Touch 2018 from Sega dropped on Switch in Europe out of nowhere. Now, there had been hints, of course, as there always is, hints and rumors that this might be coming, but it had never been announced it was going to even be on Switch. There was no hype around it, and all of a sudden, today, they just dropped it out of nowhere. It cost €29.99. I don't know what's happening. This is just, for those who don't know, Football Manager is a simulation managing game and for soccer. Okay, it's called football over in Europe. So it looks fun. Just like all the other Football Manager games, it looks fun. Like, you manage a team, you build a roster, you can watch your strategies you employ with your roster through, watching the games being played in 3D. You don't actually play the games because, as it suggests, you're the manager of everything. You're not, simulating by playing the games themselves. So it is what it is. I actually think these games are kind of neat. I wish one existed for every major sport, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it dropped out of nowhere. It's on Switch right now. If you have a European eShop account and some eShop credit for Europe, or if you are from Europe, you can go buy it right now today. So there you go. And it is an adaptation of their touch version, which actually is the full version of the game, just built for touchscreens. It's not, surprisingly, it's not watered down from like a console version. It is the full version, just touchscreen controls. Although on Switch, you can use button controls as well. So it kind of does both. Best of both worlds, I guess. And the last story actually is about A Link to the Past. We don't do this often with game anniversaries, but because of how special Zelda is for me, I figured I would mention it. Today is the 26th anniversary of A Link to the Past. And this is especially notable because A Link to the Past essentially established the quote-unquote Zelda formula. And for those who don't know what that means, essentially A Link to the Past set up how Zelda games would be made, the framework of it for all future Zelda games until Breath of the Wild landed. That's right. Up until the release of Breath of the Wild last year, every Zelda game between A Link to the Past and Breath of the Wild had been based around a formulaic method that A Link to the Past set up, including plot twists, including dungeon design layouts, including how the story, was kind of formed, how the worlds were built, some linear aspects, some of the still open world aspects at times. Everything was built around what A Link to the Past established. So as different as Zelda games can be, as different as The Wind Waker is from Twilight Princess, and Twilight Princess and The Wind Waker are from Majora's Mask, and Majora's Mask from Ocarina of Time, and, A Link to the Past from Triforce Heroes and all that stuff. Reality is that all of these games were still built essentially off of the formula established by A Link to the Past. So A Link to the Past was kind of the formulaic setup for the series, and now we're kind of moving into a new era. Now Breath of the Wild is the new A Link to the Past, so we've been told. So we'll have to wait and see, but I do want to just give a shout out. It is by the way, someone's going to mention that, it's not really the 26th anniversary because blah, 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 released in Japan. We're talking about North America, of course. We are a North American-based YouTube channel, so it's the 26th anniversary of the North American release of A Link to the Past. And again, we don't always note or rarely ever denote. This might be the first time of an anniversary of a game. We didn't even do anything special for the anniversary of Breath of the Wild, and really nothing special for the anniversary of Switch itself. But Zelda is near and dear to my heart. It is my favorite franchise of all time. I plan to keep playing it until I die. So it just felt appropriate to signify this, since A Link to the Past is finally a game that has been kind of put in the review mirror for what the future of Zelda is going to be. So good times we live in. Anyways, folks, I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Prime News. As always, you can like this video if you like it and dislike it if you dislike it. I honestly prefer if you like it. The more likes we get, the more outside viewership we gain, the more this gets shared around and all that stuff. So let me know what you think about this episode of Prime News and the news that we covered. We're always looking to improve things. I changed the lighting up a little bit this time. Whether or not it helped with the green screen, I don't even know, but trying to make little minor improvements here and there. Otherwise, folks, you know what? I'm just going to catch all of you guys in the next one. Do 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 do